The idea that fat and cholesterol cause heart disease evolved in the 1950s. Previous to that, however, there was evidence that insulin was involved in the destruction of the arterial wall, and that evidence was completely ignored. So we developed the myth that cholesterol and fat were involved in the heart disease progression program. And of course, by the 1960s, that juggernaut was just everywhere. It was all over the land. Everybody accepted it, doctors, the government. And the fact that no one knew anything about glycation until that was first published in 1987, which is the process by which blood glucose, blood sugar, attaches itself to proteins that make up your body, including the proteins that make up your blood vessel walls. They then form reactive oxygen species, free radicals, which dig holes into your vessel wall, and guess what the cholesterol does? It comes in and plugs up the hole. That's why they found cholesterol in the artery. But all this was ignored. It's still ignored today. And the hazards of carbohydrates are ignored today. Nobody talks about it. They all want to say that carbohydrates are great for us. They're healthy. We need them. They're the primary fuel of the body. They're not. Fat is. And the carbohydrates just mess everything up. And of course, they lead to the secretion of insulin. And it was well established that insulin was damaging. Because it was damaging, they were giving it to diabetics, and the insulin had a very shadowy effect on that, creating more problems. So what we have now is a failed theory that argues that fat and cholesterol is the cause of these diseases, when in fact it never was fat and cholesterol. Now, fat in the presence of carbohydrates can be a problem. You've got to get the fat up and the carbohydrates down. So it's the carbohydrates that are creating all these issues. But this information is just coming. It's been out for a long while, but more of it's coming out now. But I do think it's still going to be decades before this message resonates with enough people for them to understand that carbohydrates are a death blow. Now, you don't have to eat no carbohydrates. You can eat some, but you got to be really careful about the total amount that you consume in the course of a day, because they really mess things up. So that's what I have to say on heart disease. I'm Dr. Greg Ellis.